Welcome back, you guys, and in today's News Daily video, we definitely have some big news to break down. Now, this story is in regards to reports linking us with a potential swap move involving Jorginho and Pjanic from Juventus. In today's News Daily video, I'm going to break down the story, I'm going to give you guys the latest news, I'm going to analyse Miralem Pjanic. Could he be a good signing for us? I'll break down the pros and the cons, and I'll be discussing Jorginho and whether we need to sell the player to move on or not. It's going to be a jam-packed video, and just to let you guys know, I'm definitely going to know in the comment section who watched the video right to the end and who just finished the video halfway through. But you guys, before I start with things, today's video is brought to you by the OneFootball app. If you want to see how Pjanic has performed for Juventus this season, you can use the OneFootball app to check out the stats in regards to Pjanic this season. You can form your own opinions, you can find out the latest news coming up from Juventus in regards to this deal too. The OneFootball app has so many convenient uses. Try it out for yourselves. You'll find a link below in the description below. Now, to start with today's story, this story was first broken by the infamous Damasio. He reports that Juventus and us are currently in talks in regards to potential Jorginho and Pjanic swap. Now, I can imagine that a lot of you guys are like scratching your heads right now. Nini, Pjanic and Jorginho, does this make any sense? Are we wasting our time? Is Pjanic even good enough to play for us? You know, as I keep stressing, you guys, watch to the end so you can form your best informed opinion. At this point in time, Pjanic just isn't indispensable at Juventus anymore. He has struggled taking over the regista role, and we do know that under Sarri, playing as a regista is a very demanding role. Now, we aren't the only clubs to show interest in Pjanic. Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain are the other two notable clubs in the running to sign the player. Now, originally, Juventus hoped to do a player swap involving Arthur from Barcelona and Pjanic. However, Arthur turned down the chance to sign for Juventus. I mean, obviously, how are you going to leave Barcelona and move to Juventus? It doesn't make any sense. And it now seems that Juventus are turning their attentions away to other targets. Now, the two most notable targets are Paredes from Paris Saint-Germain and, of course, our very own Jorginho. Now, to provide you guys with some more context in regards to today's big story, Mohamed Bouafsi, a very renowned French reporter, he released an article in regards to the interest shown from Paris Saint-Germain and from Barcelona. Now, we do know that Paris Saint-Germain are interested in signing Bakayoko, however they are interested in signing a medium for their team. You know, it looks like they're trying to get rid of Paredes and Draxler. However, you guys, when it comes to doing their very own swap deal, it seems like Draxler and Paredes aren't really interested in moving to Juventus. Mohamed's report now moves on to Barcelona, and he's reporting that Barcelona are currently the favourites to sign Pjanic. Now, even though the original swap deal didn't go through, you know, it seems like Rakitic, Vidal and Semedo are players that are very likely to leave Barcelona this season, and naturally Barcelona wants some experienced quality to replace a Rakitic or a Vidal. Now, could this hint towards Barca making a counter offer, or could they potentially just sign Pjanic outright? Now, why am I mentioning these stories? No, I'm not mentioning it just to like add more minutes to the video. I just want to provide a clearer perspective and a wider perspective in regards to today's big story. At this point in time, we are only holding talks in regards to Pjanic. This isn't a certified guaranteed signing. Naturally, this does make a lot of sense. And now, you guys, this moves on to the second part for today's video, where I'm going to be using tactics, I'm going to be using clips to break down the merits behind the story. Could Pjanic be a better signing than we may think? And is it really time to let Jorginho leave? Now, to start with things, I want to start with Jorginho because, of course, he could be potentially involved in a player swap deal. And let's actually break down the merits of the player. Now, this season, Jorginho has adapted to playing in a midfield too. A lot of credit goes to Frank Lampard. He's found a way to minimise Jorginho's physical shortcomings playing in a midfield too. How Lampard did this was by making Jorginho and Kovacic operate very centrally in these areas, and this provides them the platform for the counter press. Playing close together allows them to have a passing option every single time, and playing close together as well provides a platform for the team to play out from the back. You know, at times we have struggled from our centre backs playing those, you know, deep progressive balls. So having these two centrally in the pivot does give us a platform to play out from the back. However, the main issue with Jorginho and with using the pivot as well is that against good players and good teams, they can find ways to exploit Jorginho. Now, a lot of this comes down to Jorginho's tendencies to overcommit in everything he does. For example, let's say that he's trying to counter press and close a man down. The spaces in behind him tend to be open, so what good teams tend to do is they normally have a player receiving passes in these areas here, and in that sense, they can bypass our midfield entirely. The main reason why we've conceded so many goals this season has been due to these areas being open in front of our back line. I'm talking about the spaces between the lines, and when Jorginho overcommits, or if Cover does the same thing, he doesn't have the physicality to cover those distances quickly and get back into position. So what this ends up doing naturally is disorganizing our back four. The centre backs are put in a very precarious situation where they might have to step out and close a man down, and of course by doing that, as I keep stressing, it disorganizes the back four. Now, what I'm describing tends to happen time and time again, you guys, and this is most definitely reflected in Jorginho's disciplinary records. He's picked up 13 yellow cards this season, which is a crazy amount of yellow cards, and it really just displays to you the difficulties he faces sometimes playing in midfield in this type of tactical setup. Jorginho's defensive reading of the game isn't particularly perfect as well. I always make it very distinct between counter pressing when it comes to just, playing aggressively high, closing down your opposition player from short distances, and of course your general defensive reading of the game. At times, I get the impression that Jorginho just doesn't sense danger all the time, and most importantly, he's someone that's not necessarily picking up the runs of opposition players. So, as I keep stressing, the area between the lines gets exploited time and time again, and for us to improve tactically and to make that step up to, Frank Lampard 2.0, then we need to rectify this glaring issue in the team. There's a reason why Sarri feels that Jorginho is better in a midfield 3, because this minimizes the amount of space that Jorginho has to cover. I hope you guys are still here, and to let you know, when I talk about football, I like to leave my emotions to the side. I like to see things for how they are. I like to use tactics. I like to use the context of Lampard, his tactics and his system, and how to get the very best of it. And for me personally, I feel like we can get an upgraded player for that role. And now it's time to talk about Pjanic, because is Pjanic that player to replace Jorginho? Is he needed? Does he make sense? Let me dive straight into the Pjanic breakdown. Now, immediately from a tactical perspective, I think Pjanic is the upgrade to Jorginho. I've made this point before. I feel like Jorginho excels in restriction. In that sense, he uses his short passing a lot of times to set the tempo. Jorginho isn't the type of player to instigate attacks and start the counter-attack, so playing under Sarri could be the best thing for him. And just because Pjanic has struggled at times playing as a regista, this doesn't mean that he's a finished player. Pjanic is a player that can excel when he's allowed to express himself. Now, I want to use Kovacic as an example. Last year under Sarri, Kovacic expressed some dissatisfaction playing under Sarri. He felt like Sarri ball was a bit too restrictive, and naturally, because training had to be equally restrictive to really just fine-tune the tactics, Kovacic admitted that he wasn't enjoying himself as much. Near the end of last season, when people entertained the idea of potentially keeping Kovacic, a lot of people in the fan base were against the deal. Fast forward 12 months later, and Kovacic could be our player of the season this year. He's been exceptional, and the main reason for this is because he is now being used in a position, in a role in midfield, that gets the very best out of him. If this deal was finalized, I feel like Pjanic could rebuild his reputation playing for us. This deal would make a lot of sense because Jorginho fills a tactical role that Juventus need and that Sarri needs, and Pjanic fills that same role for us. Now, from a defensive point of view, I feel like Jorginho and Pjanic are pretty similar. However, there's one aspect in which Pjanic is completely superior to Jorginho, and that's his use of the ball. Pjanic is a deep line playmaker, and if he did sign, he would replace that role that we've missed ever since we let Fabregas go. He's in that similar mold to Cesc, Kroos, Modric, etc, etc. And Pjanic is one of the best deep line playmakers in his position. I mean, this guy can play so many accurate vertical passes with pace, and for a team like us that focuses on a lot of players making runs inside the box, you need someone on the ball who's very adept and confident at playing long passes. Jorginho just can't do it with the same technique, with the same efficiency, and with the same accuracy, and this is something that Sarri himself has even admitted. You know, last season when Cesc and Jorginho were having this little debate, you know, Sarri said that yes, Cesc is the better passer. However, in my team, I don't necessarily need that skill set. As I keep stressing you guys, we're a team under Lampard that really stretches the play. We play a very expansive style. We have a lot of players overloading the wide areas. And when you have a central pivot, it's imperative that you have an accurate distributor of the ball. It's no surprise why Gilmour received a lot of praise ever since he got introduced into the first team, and it was due to his ability to play those accurate vertical passes between the lines, over the top, and obviously finding men out wide. To give my closing thoughts, you guys, you know, ideally I would prefer other targets. However, Pjanic is still an amazing player, an amazing deep line playmaker, and I completely trust Frank Lampard. If Frank decided that, you know what, I feel like Pjanic should be good for the team, I can see the benefits behind that. For example, this would give Gilmour the opportunity to be slowly integrated in the team. Lampard may feel like he needs two players of that deep line playmaker dimension to help out with the team, and maybe Lampard's mindset could be on having a really strong midfield involving Ruben, Kante, Pjanic, Kova, and Billy Gilmour. Now, I understand what some might be thinking, Nini, if we were to sign any single player from Juventus, it would have to be Alexandro. However, you guys, cast your minds back to the previous reports. They linked a potential swap deal involving Emerson and Alexandro. You know, a Jorginho Pjanic deal could be an entirely separate thing on its own, and I guess I could see the business sense behind that. Pjanic's potential signing would be a short-term quality signing that doesn't jeopardize Billy Gilmour's future place in the team, and it provides us something important that we need in our midfield, and that's someone that can spray the passes and act as that deep line playmaker. But before we start getting carried away, let's not forget that it seems like Paris Saint-Germain and Barcelona may be the favourites at this point in time. And let's be hypothetical for a second. Imagine that Juventus received money for the signing of Pjanic, which would then mean that they would have the funds to sign Jorginho, and then to minimise their overall costs, they would do a deal involving Emerson plus cash from us for the signing of Alexandro. This doesn't seem too far-fetched. I could see this working out from all parties. And again, I wouldn't be surprised maybe if Emerson and Jorginho could be linked with potential deals involving Pjanic and Alexandro. In that sense, Sarri gets the players he needs for a system, and we get quality, you know, experienced options that would help the first team out when we have so many great young players. Now, what's my thoughts and opinions? Do I want us to sign Pjanic? It might be a bit of a cop-out, you guys, but honestly, it comes down to Frank Lampard. If Lampard gives the call to get this deal done, then, you know, I have to agree with my manager, because Lampard knows how to get the best out of the team. He wants to upgrade his style of football. Then I'd have to stick by my manager, you guys. On that point, I'm going to wrap things up and keep things moving. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I want to hear your thoughts and opinions. Again, I try to bring a different perspective to the story. You know, it's too easy just to, you know, say no to the deal. It makes no sense. When actually the reality is Pjanic is one of the best players to play that deep lying role. So I'm going to leave that to you guys. I'm EFC. This is Blue Lions TV. I'll see you guys later with some more videos.